Since the beginning of Demented Pictures, I've always avoided referring to myself as a horror channel, but instead as an alternate media channel, and I do this to allow the inclusion of dark thrillers and other media formats. There's a common misconception that a horror movie must contain a supernatural element to be classed as such. If this mentality were to be correct, many of the greatest horror movies would be declassified. Despite the controversy, dark thrillers have become the most respected genre in alternate cinema. Coined by some as sophisticated horror, these pictures have risen the ranks of society and are often nominated for Academy recognition. And now it's time to take a look at the very best. So join me as I count down the top 10 dark thrillers. For this list, I'll be looking at the greatest dark thrillers to feature no supernatural elements, and that could exist within reality. I'll also be overlooking slasher movies, as that's a list for another time. So let's begin. Number 10. Now recognized as one of the best directors of the previous generation, comes Danny Boyle's first cinematic outing, Shallow Grave. Considered a spiritual sequel to Trainspotting, following the death of a new roommate, three friends discover a bag full of money beside his corpse. Choosing to dispose of the body and keep the money for themselves, doing the unthinkable, the movie follows the downward spiral as they all undergo severe psychological changes, leading to one of the most unnerving and intense indie movies of the 1990s. Sadly overshadowed by Boyle's later work, Shallow Grave has become somewhat lost in time, but remains to many of Boyle's fans, including his own father, as his greatest work to date. Number 9. Staying within England comes the morally twisted dark revenge feature Dead Man's Shoes. A tale of the older sibling of a retarded man, returning from the army to seek revenge on the men who abused his brother. Starring Paddy Considine as Richard, the unyielding drive that leads him to take down those responsible made for one of the most brutal and terrifying anti-heroes ever set to screen. The true beauty of the movie is how it challenges the viewer into questioning Richard's executions, forcing you to decide whether his actions are righteous or pure savagery. Dead Man's Shoes delivers an almighty final twist to leave any viewer cold, but also answer the question to the killer's morals. Number 8. Tales of Backwoods Horror is no stranger to alternate cinema. One of the greatest examples is 1972's Deliverance. Beginning as a would-be buddy movie, following four friends who, while on a kayaking trip in Georgia, fall prey to demented hickyocals. Managing to escape, their story becomes more of wilderness survival. Presented with a dark cynicism towards simple society, the true horror is to be found within its societal commentary. Also featuring the iconic dueling banjos, and even earning 3 Oscar nominations at the 45th Academy Awards, losing out to Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, Deliverance has since been invested into the Library of Congress as one of the most culturally important movies in American history. Number 7. From acclaimed author Stephen King comes a tale of personal fear, Misery. The story of a renowned author who, upon completing the final book of an acclaimed series, finds himself prisoner to an obsessed hyperfan. Portrayed with twisted perfection by Kathy Bates, Annie Wilkes discovers that within the final novel, her favorite character, Misery Chastain, is to die. Unable to separate fiction from reality, and believing a rewrite would return the character from death, she goes to the extreme to get her character revived. Directed by Rob Reiner, the movie became the second highest grossing picture of 1990, losing out to the Christmas classic Home Alone, but would go on to win the Oscar for Best Actress, going to Bates' remarkable performance. Number 6. Released to critical acclaim and only growing more popular over time, American Psycho is arguably one of the most sophisticated thrillers of the 21st century. Starring Christian Bale as Patrick Bateman, a successful executive who lives a dual life as a psychopath. Serving as a cynical commentary on the business mogul world, it also features a dark commentary of New York society. A movie that's also open to interpretation, that upon repeat viewings presents easily overlooked yet narrative-altering subtleties that may reveal the truth behind the ambiguity of Bateman's reality. Directed by Mary Harron, the movie originally opened to polarizing reviews, some seeing it as overly sexual and excessively violent, but to others, an outstanding dark comedy that perfectly parodies the eccentricities of the materialistic world. Number 5. Often mentioned in Demented Top 10s, and for good reason, I Saw the Devil is a movie truly deserving of greater recognition. Beginning as a somewhat simple yet extreme revenge movie, the typical narrative is complete within the first act. What makes it stand among its peers is the lack of satisfaction from the main protagonist, who chooses to free his nemesis to extract a more fitting revenge. Despite the relentless brutal nature, the movie is also oddly relatable, featuring a lead character whose motive you can fully support but also abhor. Sadly remaining a somewhat obscure picture in the Western world, I Saw the Devil delivers a most brutal story that builds to one of the most emotional and profound endings in all of Asian cinema. Number 4. It's a rare occasion when disturbing concepts are handled so proficiently that they receive academic recognition. Released in 1995, David Fincher's Seven is one of the finest examples. Following Detective Mills in Somerset as they try to capture John Doe, a serial killer with the motive of extracting divine justice on victims by forcing them into committing one of the 7 deadly sins, albeit with an eccentrically grotesque execution. Starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, the movie is presented as a sophisticated modern film noir, which, considering the content, caught many viewers off guard. Also featuring one of the greatest ever endings, with a final twist to leave any first-time viewer in awe, Seven remains one of the darkest and highest praised movies of the 1990s. Number 3. Often appearing in Demented Top 10s, and for good reason, is the movie that created modern horror, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Recognized as one of the boldest movies ever made, by not only delivering a disturbing yet believable premise, but also by disposing of the would-be protagonist, leaving the movie purely driven by a psychopath. Played with unsettling perfection by Anthony Perkins, the character of Norman Bates became the original real-world slasher icon, ultimately being recognized as the second greatest cinematic villain of all time, losing out to Darth Vader. Often repeated, but never bettered, Psycho has stood the test of time and still inspires many renowned filmmakers to this very day. Number 2. One of the reigning movies of the previous generation, Oldboy is the second installment of future Oscar winner Chan-wook Park's Vengeance trilogy. Alongside Mr. Vengeance and Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, the movie tells of an unimpressive man kidnapped and locked away for 15 years, finds himself set free with 3 days to discover the reason for his capture. Wasting no time, the picture immediately grabs the viewer and manages to surpass all expectations to deliver an incomparable thrill ride. Released in 2004, Oldboy is a beautifully orchestrated tale of vengeance and mystery that hosts one of the darkest and most shocking payoffs ever seen in cinema. If you enjoyed Demented Top 10s, show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button and be sure to subscribe to keep up with the channel. Also, have your say in future Top 10s and follow Demented Pictures on Facebook or consider supporting the show on Patreon, links in the description box below. Number 1. Topping Demented Top 10s for a third time is the Academy Award-winning Silence of the Lambs. Written by acclaimed author Thomas Harris, the second installment of the Hannibal Lecter saga sees trainee agent Clarice Starling, who partners with Lecter to help capture an even more psychopathic killer. An external sequel to 1988's Manhunter, the story was one of the first to break the convention of investigation, using a psychopath to catch a psychopath, pitching the iconic Hannibal Lecter against Buffalo Bill, a demented maniac who intends to create a full bodysuit out of women's flesh. Featuring Oscar-winning performances from Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, the movie would also win Best Director and Best Picture at the 64th Academy Awards. Exploring themes rarely seen in cinema, the movie made an immediate impact not only on the generic movie lovers, but also on sophisticated movie lovers. The Silence of the Lambs is now recognized as one of the top 25 movies of all time. So there was my list. Were there any I missed? Which dark thrillers do you love the most? Leave a comment below, and be sure to check out some other top 10s on screen now. And remember, no list is definitive but the one you make yourself. This is Mike from Demented Pictures saying, may your movies be bloody and your scares be shitless.